Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination.
Hey guys, Chef Bart here again, and I am the dude with the food. So what we're making today is chicken corn chowder, and trust me, even though I say it all the time, this is absolutely the best soup you will ever taste. And it's a 2-day process because I like to let it sit overnight. So what we got here is, we're going to need some cheesecloth for later, and I'll show you what that's for. We got fresh rosemary, fresh thyme, 2 tablespoons of salted butter, got a total of 3 yellow onions, some minced garlic, some regular garlic, some sweet white corn, and these bags are a pound, and some yellow corn. We got 2 bay leaves, 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, and this is this KNORR, it's called Knorr. It's a home-style stock, and this is a chicken stock. And if you buy these, it's only $3 for this, and it's got 4 containers in it, so it makes 16 cups of stock. It's well worth the money. So we're also going to need 2 cups of heavy whipping cream. We're going to need 2.5 to 3 pounds of russet potatoes, and I'm going to use that to thicken the soup. We're going to need some carrots, some celery, and what we got here is 2 chickens that they had on sale, 2 whole chickens. And then I got some cornstarch that we might need at the end for thickening a little bit, and some fresh parsley. This is the flat leaf Italian parsley. So I'm going to get started on this, and I'll be back in a minute. Alright guys, here's the next step. I went ahead and took all the chicken apart, and I got a bowl of thighs and breasts. I took the skin off of everything, and the other bowl I got is just a bunch of bones and drumsticks and things. So I'm going to use the skin to make some fat. And I got the wingtips in here too. Now, like I said before, you want to do this you don't want to do this in a non-stick pan, because you want all the brown bits to form on the bottom. And you don't want to use a metal spatula either, because you'll scrape them all up. Use plastic. So I'm going to let this render for probably about 20 minutes, and then we'll have plenty of fat, and then we're going to fry up the other pieces. Alright, so it's been about 20 minutes, and now I got all this skin and stuff I need to get rid of. So let me scrape it out. It's a little sticky. Now we got all that stuff on the bottom of the pan. So first thing I'll do is pour off the grease. Now I'm going to deglaze this with some chicken stock. And then we'll put it into our flavored stock. That's what this is going to be here. Okay. Now we don't have to worry about that burning when we do the next step. So now I'm going to grab the chicken or the bones and stuff. We're going to brown those. But before I do that, look at all that. It's almost a cup, 3/4 of a cup. And pour a little oil back in there. And by the way, if you don't want to do this step, then just skip all of this and use olive oil. But as you know, and you've seen my videos, it's all about building flavor. So here we go. So here's all chicken parts, and there's quite a bit of it. Now it really doesn't matter if you crowd the pan on this because it's open and the moisture is just going to cook off anyway. And all we're really looking to do is brown this stuff to get more flavor. And this will go in the soup later as well. I'm going to let this sit for a good 5 minutes and then I'll flip it over. I'm even going to add a little more of this fat because later on we can skim it off. Make sure all those pieces are making contact down there. So what I did with these, see they come in little packages like this. And it says to put it in 3.5 cups of boiling water, but I use 4 because this is going to be so potent I wanted to thin it out a little bit. But you just drop that down into your 3.5 or 4 cups of water, and then I just throw it in the microwave for about 4 minutes and then stir it up and it's ready to go. And that's what it looks like. So I'm going to do the same thing to all the chicken now. All the pieces, the drumsticks, all that. And I'm saving the breast and the thighs. I'm just going to put them in the liquid and poach them later. I really don't want to brown them off because I want them to be nice and tender. So I'm going to do all that and then I'll be back to deglaze the pan with you. Okay, I finished that first batch, so now I'm going to throw this back in the pan to use it again to deglaze. Next batch. Hopefully the last batch. Okay, looks like we got one more batch after this. Well, I'll leave some room in there. Meanwhile, I got 10 cups of water in my Dutch oven. You can't see it, it's off camera. I'm starting to heat that up too, so I'm going to add some stock to that. The easiest way I find is just to take a butter knife and run around the edge of this and then it just drops right in. Okay, so I'm just taking the last of the pieces out now. And I also got the neck that I got out of the birds. There was 2 necks in here. Use all of that too. So now we're going to do our final deglaze. The best time to wash your cast iron pan is right after you use it and it's hot. Dump some cold water in it and then you go over it with a sponge that has no soap in it and that's it. So I'm going to do that now. See, it's that easy. And now what I do is I sit it on the burner for a minute or two. It'll dry and then you just put it away. You don't ever want to put soap in your cast iron pans. Okay, so here's our stock that's come up to the boil. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add all this chicken into it. Now there's a difference between chicken stock and chicken broth. The stock is made by adding the vegetables to it, the mirepoix, you know, the carrot, celery, and onion. A broth is made by just putting the meat in. So this is chicken stock, those little packages that I put in here. But I'm going to just use the chicken now to flavor it, because I don't want to do a double stock by putting all the vegetables in it if I don't have to. So we're going to get all this in here with all the juice that's accumulated. And this is about 10 cups of liquid. I want to have 12 cups all together. There's another couple cups over here. So we're going to add a couple bay leaves. We'll add a sprig of rosemary, and we'll add a sprig of thyme, and then we'll add all this other chicken, the thighs, and the breasts. Just lay that in on top. Hopefully I won't run out of, I'll have enough room in here. And we'll lay, I got the gizzards, got the heart. Okay, so now I'm going to add some salt, just about about a teaspoon. Pepper. Let it simmer now for a good hour. I just want to poach everything. I don't really want to cook the heck out of it. Okay, so while that's cooking, I'm going to show you a little tip here. If you don't already know, with the cheesecloth, there's a little cardboard thing inside. So what I usually do is, I'm going to take, the easiest way to cut this is just with a knife. Okay, it's kind of tough stuff. So what I'll do now is, I'm going to take my cup that I use for defatting, and I'm going to set this inside. Because I want to strain that stuff that we rendered, and I'm just going to pour it right through the cheesecloth, and it'll take out all those chunks of stuff that you don't want. You pick it up and give it a squeeze. That's all flavorful stuff in there. Okay. Alright guys, so this is the stock I got out of the soup. And this is that's the light meat and the drumsticks and stuff. And then here's all the stuff with the bones, which I got to go through. But what I wanted to show you was about this. Here's all this chicken fat we got now. And that is like gold, because not only is it fat, but it's also flavored. So what you can do is you can take your gravy thing there, put a little more cheesecloth in it, and strain it through. And then you can take this fat and put it in your freezer, and it'll last 3 months in there. So the next time you gotta fry something or For instance, I use it when I'm making chopped liver. They call it schmaltz. But now it's all strained. Now you can take that and freeze it and use it whenever you need some flavored fat. So don't throw it away if you don't have to. And if you're a health nut, throw it away. So, all right, now I'm going to take all the meat off the chicken and everything, and then I'm going to assemble the soup, and I'll show you how I do that when I get done. Okay guys, back for the next step. It's actually the next day now, and first thing I want to do, well, I made a French bread, but my daughter got the top, but that'll go good with the soup later. And so I took the broth out of the fridge, and it's got this layer of fat on the top, so I'm going to skim it off what we missed. Okay, that should be good enough. So now I'm going to pour this into a big stock pot. And this is the other thing I wanted to show you. We're going to wait to add the meat till later. But this is the fat from yesterday. And I put it in the freezer, and you can see there's two distinct levels in there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the fat off, the pure fat, and then have be able to put it in a bag for later. So I'm just going to take it and I'm going to put some hot water over it, and then it'll release. Okay, so here it is. Now I'll just take a knife and cut this section off. There we go. Now that's pure chicken fat. And I'm going to label it chicken fat, and it'll be good for 3 months. So I'm going to get started now. Next step to do with this is I'm going to dice up the potatoes, and then I'm going to put it into the stock to thicken it up. Alright, so I just finished dicing large dice, 3 pounds of russet potatoes, so now I'm going to dump it into the stock. Okay, in addition to the potatoes, we're also going to make a bouquet garni to throw some of the spices in there. So we got some more of our cheesecloth, and what we'll do is I just want to smash this garlic. I got about 6 cloves here. Throw all this in. You don't even have to peel it. Some thyme and some rosemary, about three sticks each. Take this, close it up. And that's it, throw that in the soup. As we add ingredients, you got to think in your mind, what do I need to do to season it? So all those potatoes don't have any, so I'm going to add about a half a teaspoon of salt. I'm just going to go light on it, and I'm going to start adding some pepper. About a half a teaspoon of pepper. So now we're going to bring it up to the boil, and we're going to let those potatoes dissolve in there. Okay, so our soup's going nicely. It's boiling over here, and it's been about 20 minutes or so. What we're going to do now is we're going to make the aromatics, the vegetables and stuff to go in there. So I was wondering, where can I find a couple tablespoons of chicken fat to do this? And I remembered it's in my freezer. So here we go. That's the chicken fat now. Now we're going to add our onions, our celery, about 2 cups of each, and our carrots. What I'm looking to do here is just to soften them up a little bit. Turn the heat up a little. Get them all coated with the grease. Okay, now to that, we're going to add another layer of seasoning. So I got some dried rosemary, and I don't like putting this in whole because it's like eating a bunch of sticks. So I'm going to take about a teaspoon of this, put it in my spice grinder. About a teaspoon of thyme. And I'll take a teaspoon of marjoram. This is going to be a lot of soup, so this seasoning is not going to be overpowering, because right now I can smell the bouquet garni in there. I can smell the rosemary and the thyme coming off that pot. But now we're going to grind this up a little bit. This to it. And we're going to continue to add our pepper. And some salt. I'm just going to cook this until I smell it a little bit. You notice I left the carrots, I cut little circles, and I cut little pieces of the celery. These are about 1/4 inch thick, so that in the finished soup you can tell what they are instead of just dicing everything up and having it all look the same. Okay, so this is coming close to the point where it's done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add 1/4 cup of flour. Try to disperse it a little. You know me, I'm going to add some more garlic. A handful of that. Oh, I don't know, tablespoon. Now I'm going to get the flour all coated with the fat, and this will additionally help to thicken the soup. So we're going to cook this for another few minutes so that the flour can have a chance to toast a little bit so it doesn't taste like flour later. And I'm feeling we need a little more pepper, so I'm going to put that in there too. Okay, so this is ready to go into the pot now. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is pick out our bouquet garni. That's done its job. Now, as you can see, potatoes are wanting to break, but they're still a bit firm. That's okay. They'll break up as the process finishes. So now we're going to add our vegetables. Okay, now we're going to add some white corn, pound of that. We're going to add a pound of some yellow corn. Sometimes I make this in the summer. You can find corn, but now if you can, it's okay to do this way too. So I'll mix this up, and I can feel it starting to thicken already. And we're going to add our meat. Oh yeah. Look at that. That is one hearty soup. Give this a stir. Okay. And now we're going to add 2 cups of heavy cream. Look at that, huh? I'm also going to add a tablespoon of butter. Let that melt right in there. Well, here we are. I let the soup almost come up to a boil. And it thickened nicely, so we're not going to need any of the cornstarch that I suggested earlier. But what we're going to do now is take a handful of parsley, get some color in there, and I tasted it also. I had to add about 3 tablespoons of salt. I'd rather add it at the end, probably a tablespoon. Yeah, it's 3 teaspoons. So, and then I also noticed that I wanted it a little sweeter, so I added another teaspoon of marjoram. Anytime you want to sweeten something, especially a soup, that's a great alternative. So now, let's try it now the way it is. Oh my gosh. This is a meal right here. We'll get a piece of our crusty bread, a little bit of butter, oh yeah, babe. Let's see what we got here. I can taste the rosemary, I can taste the thyme, I can taste the garlic, and the corn is just to the point where it's a little bit of a crispiness to it when you bite it. Wow. Same thing with the carrots, they're kind of al dente, so that's nice. Now this will taste even better tomorrow, and by the size of this pot, there will be some left over. So I think what I'm going to do is, I'll show you how to portion it off. What I do is I portion it off into those green little containers that you've seen me use. And I put that in the freezer overnight, let it harden, and then I stack those into a vacuum sealed bag. And then anytime I want a meal, I just open the bag, take one out, and reseal it with the vacuum machine. So it works really good. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.